free to jump in and give your questions. The last scheduled question that y'all been waiting for: how do I price sponsors? Like talk today. How do I price sponsors? This one is tough because it's kind of like being an independent freelance writer or being independent photographer. Shout out to photographers out there. Shout out to Alex Goetz and my folks that have hooked me up in the past. A lot of these beautiful pictures that you see, at least the pictures that I love of myself, which doesn't always happen, they're done by amazing photographers who are often independent. So shout out to them. And what do you charge for that? What do you charge for changing someone's view of themselves, or for making impact, or in this case, for allowing someone access to your beautiful hard-earned community? It's a tough question. I think it comes down personally to three different things. The number one thing is the size of your audience. Again, for me, the messages, the cold emails and DMs, they started to come as soon as I hit 5 figures worth of subscribers. And suddenly, I swear, it was like night and day. It kind of freaked me out a little bit, as you tell by my face. It was just over a year ago, and I still have the emotional, like, oh my God. Like, I think I was already on episode 250. And it's like, we're doing this 250 episodes, and now? And so the size of the audience, in some cases, does matter. The second element of it is the niche of the audience, which in some cases ends up being the opposite. If you say, I always pick on plumbers. Shout out to the plumbers. You guys help me out so much in the past. If you're like, my newsletter is for family-owned plumber businesses in Southwest Louisiana. Shout out to Nola and other folks down there. It's in Southwest Louisiana. Actually, I got some friends and some folks that have lived down there. So really shout out to them. Baton Rouge and all that. That's what my newsletter is focused on. It sounds like you might have, 1,000 subscribers, maybe. You saw my modest newsletter count when I showed you. You might have 1,000 subscribers if you're booming like that, or you might have 100. But if it's a dedicated audience that really, really cares about this particular niche, family-owned plumbing businesses in Southwest Louisiana, and you got a new product, let's say you're the company, and or want to be sponsor, and you have a new product, and that product is going to, in your mind, revolutionize how small businesses can handle their plumbing. How much are you willing to pay for that niche audience? So the numbers matter as far as scale, but then so does the niche. I'm lucky in that I have the intersection of both. A lot of y'all that are rocking with me right now are interested in or are currently side hustlers, solopreneurs, or other non-traditional entrepreneurs. Y'all have been rocking with me for those 250 episodes before I went to 5 digits worth of subscribers. And so with that energy, then ideally it's both. The third part of it, size of audience, the niche of the audience, and third, their desired impact. This is where the pricing starts to get more into it. And there's some links I'm going to give you, great resources. So in the next 5 minutes, we're going to be wrapping up, and I'll send you in the comments. I'm not going to send you anything. In the comments, I'll go and give you these links as far as there being essentially 2 ways that people can measure, companies can measure the impact of your particular sponsorship. One is the eyeballs or exposure or click-through when it's shown to somebody. So if you are on the social media platform, you have a sponsorship, they might be like, okay, we're going to go ahead and pay you X amount of dollars, but we're going to expect you to have 10,000 or more impressions. Impressions mean views, like literally you're seeing it, or 10,000 clicks, right? So it's called the click-through rate, 10,000 clicks. And then anything above that, we're excited. And then the next time we do a sponsorship, we'll pay you more. That's kind of the vibe. That's one way to do it as far as exposure / click-through. The other way to do it is to say, we're actually going to pay you based on how many people buy this product or this service, right? It's different than referral where you might get a little piece of it. It's more like, we're going to give you the bag. We're going to give you this money. We're going to expect 5,000 people to buy this product through your particular link. That's different than referral. Referral is basically saying, however many people buy it, you'll get a piece of it. This one is saying, No, we're going to give you the money up front based on the expectation that you're going to have 5,000 people buy this joint, based on whatever you're sharing with them. And again, back to what I said in the beginning, how close it fits your particular audience. So that's why you have to be thoughtful as far as who you have sponsor what. You got to be careful with that, because if you don't have it right, then it's going to be like, well, you took our money, but we're not having any results. That's an uncomfortable place to be. I've been on the edge of those kind of things. Usually it hasn't happened to me, but I've seen it with others, and it's not, because then you can't go back to the brand and it's like, oh, well, let's work together again. And they're like, well, 10 people bought it and we expected 10,000. So, what are we doing? You know what I mean? And so that's kind of the vibe with that. And so those are the three different ways as far as like your size of your audience, the niche of your audience, your desired impact, and then the sponsorship money is usually based on the impressions / click-throughs or the amount of product that's sold. Personally, I think the amount of product that's sold can be way more dangerous. And someone talked about this in the resources I'm about to give you, because the product could just not be executed well, or it might have a shipping problem. As we dealt with the pandemic over the last 4 years, shipping problems are a real thing. I got stuff that's just coming to me that was supposed to be here months ago. I swear, I was just on the phone with somebody earlier this week. So that might hurt the sales. They might have, and one of the experts talked about this in the video I'm about to share with you, they might have awful customer service. Their website might not be working well. And so when people try to buy something, the cart doesn't work. Maybe they're having, what's it called? I forget what it's called, but when fulfillment, maybe they're having fulfillment issues where people are putting their credit card and it's not working. Like, there's infinite things. Some of y'all run businesses. There's infinite things that could happen that you have no control over because you have a sponsorship deal with them, but it's not your company. That's why it's really important to go and think about what kind of deal you want to have for folks. All right, so if you want to go deeper into this, a good place to start is Beehive. This is my affiliate link, wink, wink. You go back to the top of the show for me to talk about affiliates. Beehive is great because it allows you to easily, and I don't say easy that often, easily send newsletters. It's almost like working in a Word doc to add images, text, and more importantly, to have sponsors. Let's talk about it. I'm gonna go ahead and show you my joint over here. I'm not even gonna show you the Beehive screen because it's pretty basic, but I will show you my newsletter. There we go. So this is the Damon Brown's Bring Your Worth newsletter. Subscribe for free right there. Written by Damon Brown's Bring Your Worth, etc., etc. This is the archive 8 hours ago. So this is the one that just came through. This is one I was talking about as far as self-regulation. So you can go through on that. And you could see, it's probably like a dozen plus, Some of my favorite newsletters have come out over the past few months. So I'm very, very proud and very excited, particularly with the feedback that I've gotten from y'all. It just feels like a different vibe happening. What Beehive allows you to do, I'll go ahead and show you right here, is it allows you to get sponsorship from different setups here. So it's like, this is a sponsorship right here. There's an email newsletter course where you can go ahead and set up a course via email newsletter and actually charge people for it. It's almost like, I used to have a Teachable setup back in the day, or Udemy, if you're familiar with them, even with shout out to LinkedIn, with LinkedIn Learning, similar to that, except it's all a newsletter setup. This course will help you with that. That fits y'all, because a lot of y'all ask, hey, should I set up a course? Or I have this knowledge, I don't know how to sell it, blah, 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 or I don't know how to get it to my audience. It's like, great. One of my partners will do that for you. And then as y'all click on that, whoever's reading it clicks on that, then I actually don't get paid by however many it's sold, but I actually get paid by how many people click on it. So the impressions matter, but then how many people click on it matters too. Now, the key thing with Beehive, let me see if I can go to the Beehive right here. There we go. You guys see that? All right, beautiful. And so with Beehive, what works here is that, as you can tell, they work with a lot of different platforms. And if you end up, there's a 30-day trial, which you can go ahead and click on the link that I have right there to check it out. It's just below y'all. You can go and see what's happening. If you go with their, I think it's called the scale plan. If you go with the scale plan, and again, it's free for 30 days. If you click on there, try it out. With the scale plan, then you actually, similar to Passion Fruit, you have people coming in and saying, hey, your newsletters for side hustlers, solopreneurs, other non-traditional entrepreneurs. I want to get in front of that audience. This is how much our budget is. We'll pay you this much per click. Suddenly, that newsletter that I've had for 15, probably 20 years, and I've been doing consistently for the past decade or so. Again, when my first son was born, he was about to turn 11. So I started the newsletter earnestly at that time. Suddenly, I'm actually able to bring in revenue, and not indirect revenue as far as coaching and all those other things, but like, no, literally, like I'm getting checks every week from me sending out the newsletter. Again, shout out to Caitlin, because she gave me some game as far as with Beehive, and that's how I ended up learning about it. This is a great opportunity to do so. You should go and check it out. The link is right there. See what's happening. And close that up. There we go. Yeah, keep an eye on technical difficulties since I've been out of the game for a little while. All right, but you're not going to get sponsored anything if you don't have an audience. There's a great foundational video. It's actually kind of like a best of, so it's a handful of chapters to it. I think the whole thing is maybe like an hour long. Worth your time. How to grow an audience when you have, or if you have none. We all kind of have an audience in our own way. We just haven't necessarily gathered them. We don't recognize that they're an actual audience. This will help you get that insight. And frankly, you're gonna have a hard time getting sponsorships or even making money from the affiliates, which are more the links that people click on and you can make money on it. That's a little bit different, or difficult to do, I should say, when you don't have your audience organized. I have the newsletter with y'all. I'm connected with a lot of y'all on LinkedIn and the work I do on there. And of course, I have the show with BringYourWorth.tv. So it's organized in a certain way where I'm like, hey, if you want to connect with my audience, they're at one of these 3 places. Do you want to connect with them? Cool. Makes it a lot easier to organize and to share with other people too. Again, the newsletter, which I just showed you, joindamon.me. It is free. Check it out every Wednesday, 5:55 a.m. You see what's happening. This stuff is really good. And we will end on these 2 notes. Shout out to Thought Leaders. I think it's thoughtleaders.io. Yeah, right there on the link. Like, why don't I read it? Tips on pricing. If you want to go deeper to the pricing, there's a lot of resources here, including a calculator, which sometimes gets it right, but at least it gives you some type of range as far as what you could charge based on the size of your audience, the platform you have, and of course, like I was talking about, how deep the niche goes. This had, when I was going through a year ago, and suddenly I was getting all these cold emails. I was like, oh my God, this is one of the resources where I kept going back to it. And I made some mistakes along the way. I would have handled certain things differently, but a lot of those mistakes I was able to avoid because this particular article, as well as shout out to Fee Woo. Hope you're doing well. She has this great video. I think it came out about 1.5 years, 2 years ago, but I discovered it about 1 year ago, again, when I was going through this, breaking down how sponsorship works. She actually talks with I think it's the head of partnerships. I think that's her title, Anya, who's over at Restream. Restream is a competitor to StreamYard. I'm on StreamYard right now. I've been on both of y'all. Love both of y'all. Talk to both of y'all. I love both of y'all's work. But Restream is very similar to StreamYard, which is I'm on right now. And they have this 2-part, I think it's 1.5 hour long conversation. There's so many gems in here. I had reached out. I'm sorry, the reverse. Some brands had reached out to me. I had responded to them. I'll put it like this. We're gonna have an honest moment for a second. Oh, actually, you know what? We have a great question here. Someone's asking, how should someone start? And unfortunately, it's on Amazon. So I'm gonna go ahead and plug it in there. Their name is Z. Shout out to Z. How should someone start a sponsorship? Doing it live. If spelled correctly. Man, you wouldn't think I had 2 degrees in journalism. If you are new to creating Man, you're from Amazon. All right, Z, you are on the air. Not literally, but I got your comment. Thank you, Z. I appreciate the comment. I can't do it on both platforms. Amazon, please fix that. But I put it in there for you. How should someone start with sponsorship if you are new to creating? Frankly, I would recommend you start with just the creating and start with just building that. Build up your catalog. There's a great rule that I learned from the podcasters. Shout out to Megan Francis. Shout out to Carlos, who was his comment was just on there. Shout out to you. There's so many folks that have been in the game longer than me as far as the regular content. Again, this show is only 3.5 years old. I'm old, but the show is new. One solid rule is to not announce your platform, your new creative endeavor, until you're at least 3 episodes in. It's like me launching BringYourWorth.tv and saying, hey, there's a new show, come watch it. And they watch, I think my first episode of Bring Your TV was like 8 minutes long. They watch 8 minutes and they're like, great, that was great, Damon. And it's like, all right. And they just kind of sit there. And then hopefully I have another episode. A lot of us quit after the first episode, but then hopefully I have another episode and they wait a week later, whatever, and then they come back. It's similar with sponsorships I've found is that you actually want to build what I would call your catalog. Build your catalog, build your library, because there's 2 reasons for that. Number 1 is the reason I just talked about. You actually want to have some type of reason for people to stay. You want some type of reason for people to stay. If it's just one off episode, it's not gonna, okay, I watched the episode. Even if it's a long episode like this, like I just approached an hour. Even if it's this, if I didn't have anything else for you guys to watch, you'd be like, oh, that was great. And then you guys are gonna wander off, right? And so you wanna have that. Same thing with the sponsors. The second part of it, which is kind of unique to sponsors, I would say, but to a lesser extent with your audience, your community, is that they want to see how you're going to continue to show up. So I'm, again, 371, this is episode 371. So if I'm talking with a sponsor, they know I'm not going anywhere. 371 episodes in 3 years. And I got friends and colleagues that have done triple. I know one person, I think her name is Louise. Shout out to Louise. I know her through LinkedIn, who's done a video every single day since the pandemic began 4 years ago. No lie. That, if she wanted sponsorship, whatever, they're like, no, she's going to show up. Now I'm changing my schedule now, like I talked about. Now I'm doing live on Wednesdays to get a good feel as far as this next chapter. It's almost like a new season for the show. But they know I'm going to show up, and they know I'm going to show up regularly, and they know that 18,000 of y'all are rocking with me. So number 1, you want to have your catalog together. It doesn't have to be perfect, but just build up that catalog a little bit. And there might even be parts of it where you think you want to create in a certain way. You look at some of my earlier episodes, wasn't what I'm doing now, right? I was watching some of my old episodes the other night. I was like, ooh, I was doing it different 3-4 years ago. And so giving yourself time to create and your audience to come in and for them to actually enjoy your content. Again, more than 3 episodes or more. But then the second thing is that you have to let your catalog build a little bit. Otherwise, the sponsors don't know what they're buying. And they don't know if you're going to be consistent in that way. There's so many of us as creators, again, yep. Thank you, Z. I just got your message. Thank you, Z. I'm glad it was helpful for you. There's so many of us that create, or that want to create. Zero judgment. I got so much stuff on the cutting room floor that I wanted it to thrive, and I wanted to do it on a regular basis, and it just didn't work. If you end up getting sponsorship, even if, like, the curse, and I'm glad I didn't go through this. The curse is when you have a new idea, you barely start creating it, and then you start getting money thrown at you. That is a curse, because then there's all that baggage with money, and I talk about that in the You're Not Charging Enough episode, which is in the links below. But there's also the baggage as far as you having an obligation while you're still working on your craft. And so it was really, just to go full circle, when I started getting the cold emails and DMs a year ago, all these folks I wanted to work with, Bring Your Worth TV, when I went from 1,000 subscribers to 10,000 plus, the blessing was that I already had 250 episodes in the can. Z, you don't have to do that. But I already had 250 episodes in the can, as they call it, in journalism and in media. I had 250 episodes in the can. And I already established my voice, again, as we say in media, I already established my voice. Like how I'm talking to y'all right now, that was wobbly for the first 100 episodes. Now I feel like myself on camera. If you meet me in person, I'm pretty much the exact same way. So that vibe, it took 100 episodes and then really perfected it after 250 episodes. So when the sponsors started coming through, like again, I have sponsors for the newsletter, I'm talking to folks about sponsoring the show. Once they started coming through, then I was able to have a conversation with them about all this other stuff, but I wasn't worried about the authenticity of how I was showing up. That's my biggest thing, Z, is to just get it started. Don't worry about the sponsorship. Don't worry about it. Just build up that catalog. Find out who your audience is and sharpen it if you already know what it is, and find out what that voice is and whatever you're creating. And then I think naturally, then you'll start to have an idea as far as when to start calling the sponsors, or it'll be like in my case where, suddenly you hit a tipping point and the sponsors are coming to you. So hopefully that helps a lot. And thank you for the thought-provoking question. Faye Wu, fantastic video. Be sure and check it out. This is worth your time. This, as well as Thought Leaders post right there. This is fantastic, Oh, and Z, you said I should share this on LinkedIn. I already am. Shout out to my LinkedIn community, and I'll be sure and get to your comments because every platform is different, so I don't see all the LinkedIn comments. But if you have any other comments, be sure and I'll be sure and reply to them after this video is done. One last thing too. Unfortunately, Amazon does not have this, but for all the platforms that you're watching on, I put a link or a comment essentially with all the links right below the video. So if anything that you missed or anything you're questioning or whatever, it's right below there. It's embedded in this video, but it's also, I believe, the first pinned comment for a lot of this. Whew. I haven't done an hour-long live in a long time. Thank you for rocking with me. Thank you for all the engagement. Thank you, Z. Thank you, Carlos. Thank you, Joan. Thank you, all of y'all, for coming through. It's wonderful to be back and bring back this energy. Again, today we're talking about how to get sponsors, live Q&A. Watch the replay. There's a lot of gems in there, if I should say so myself, and especially from the commentary from y'all, it allowed us to explore things in different ways. Again, my name is Damon Brown. I'm an entrepreneurial coach to side hustlers, solopreneurs, otherwise non-traditional entrepreneurs. Happy to coach with you. Just check me out at damonbrown.net. Bring Your Worth TV, 370 episodes. Pick one. But we're also live every Wednesday at 1:11 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, Las Vegas time. You can subscribe for free. And the new book is the complete Bring Your Worth collection. Appreciate y'all. And thank you for the compliments over at Desteries. I appreciate you over on Amazon. Thank you for all the love. It's good to be back. And if you want to go ahead and buy the book, you can click any of the links below. You can also listen to it right now. Beautiful thing about owning your own publishing company, I can do what I want. So I want to share the book with y'all in audiobook form. It's available on all the audiobook platforms, but if you want to listen right now, you also want to support the show, watch it at that link below. Much love to y'all, and I'll see you on Wednesday. Remember, you can always bring your worth. You can always build from now. Take care of yourselves.